David Bowen. You've worked 15 plus jobs, ran the Olympic torch, live with ADHD and Tourette's, among other things, and now edit content. What actually ties all of that together in who you are?
That's a great question. I don't know how much the Olympic torch, how much meaning that has now, but it was a cool moment. But
Yeah.
uh, my ADHD and my Tourette's, I mean, like my entire life experience is kind of as negative and positive as it's been, but a lot of negatives early on. It molded me into kind of who I am. Um, uh, there's been a lot of negative stuff, but I wouldn't take any of it back.
Yeah.
Um, and the creative outlet, I think that ADHD, Tourette syndrome, all that stuff, uh, it fuels kind of like my creative drive. It makes me a bit more creative. It makes me think outside the box in weird ways, you know. Um, it
Interesting.
yeah, yeah,
So
it's
just I was just gonna add with me being disabled and using a wheelchair. My dad's an engineer, as you know, and I think the ingenuity of being disabled in an able-bodied world and having to figure out how to adapt to it has gotten me that like I don't know that critical thinking and all that. So it's interesting how we're able to turn like what is perceived as negative to be a positive in some ways as well.
yeah. Well, the negatives in life, I think, and from my experience, and from what I hear from everybody, like that are creatives, at least, like that, like the tortured artist kind of stereotype, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like you need like either like an abusive father or like just like some really negative stuff in your life that crushes you, but like
Mhm.
it doesn't just doesn't defeat you, it tempers you, and it helps you, it kind of hones your edge,
Yeah.
and it enables you to channel like that frustration, that anger, and that pain into something that like people can really resonate with and appreciate, because everybody has their problems.
Yeah.
And, whether it's something that's really obvious and catastrophic, or something that's more subtle, but like really affects you mentally and is like just a depressing factor in your life.
Yeah.
It can all be channeled into really like the creative arts, music, art, painting. It's really interesting. And it's like, it's more boring. You don't have as much to say, I think,
Mhm.
if you have like a really easy life, because nobody can really resonate with that. That it's like, oh, if they see somebody that's like just coasting and having everything handed to them, nobody likes that, because
Right.
it's it triggers jealousy and animosity.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes total sense. Like you and me both, we've had our issues, we both still do.
Yeah.
And here we are, both creatives, kind of creating.
Yeah. I've never defined myself as a creative, until probably starting this podcast, but
Mhm.
I yeah, I
Yeah, I'm
guess
seeing it.
here I am.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna get into a lot more about that. Give us, who are you? Just give us, I kind of scratched the surface on a little bit of who you are, but give us like a, I don't know, 60 second, who are you?
That's a big question. Who am I? How do I define what I am?
That's a good
What is a
question.
person?
Yeah.
Is it do I describe my job? Do I describe my lack of a job?
Yeah.
Do I describe how do I say that? Well, who am I? I am currently someone that is creatively minded. I am a musician. I express kind of a deep part of myself through piano, in a way that nothing else in life allows me to kind of create an output through. And it's very important to me. If It's impossible to define myself without describing my love of music and my my piano.
Hmm.
Um, who am I? I'm nearly 40. I'm a video editor, you know. in between jobs trying to find freelance. I am an amalgamation of all my past traumas and joys.
Past traumas and joys. I like that.
Yeah,
It's true.
as everybody is.
That's everybody. Yeah. Okay.
And
Well,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, and I'm just trying to put my best foot forward, and I'm just maybe right now kind of searching for some purpose.
Yeah.
I'm in a purpose. I think there's a book called The Purpose Seeking Life or The Purpose Driven Life.
Purpose driven life.
Maybe I should read that again.
Yeah.
Find some grounding, but yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Hard
Okay.
to
Well,
define. Yeah.
the next question I have is, how do we know each other?
Oh, we go way back.
Yeah.
We go way back. So your parents and my parents, I haven't caught up fully on all the lore. I did talk to my parents right before hopping on here, just see if they had any little fun anecdotes or memories or whatever that kind of tied us together. But from what I understand, and what I remember, we were like really early childhood friends because my parents knew each other through church. And so my parents were friends with your parents, and we just hung out a lot. You had a pool at your family home, and we'd spend a lot of time swimming in the pool, and then we would hop back into the room connected to your kitchen where the computer was, and we would kind of share gaming experiences. A true man's life right there.
Yeah. Did you ever play RuneScape?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Did we play together? I don't really. That was forever ago. I don't really remember that.
I think we, if memory serves, I think we did. I think it was brief. I think
Okay.
one of us lost interest,
Yeah.
and it fizzled out. And it's easy to understand with a game like RuneScape because that's such a grind. It's a grind. Yeah, like it takes hours and hours to level up those levels in fishing and cooking. It's like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
But
all right. So if we weren't here doing this right now, where would you be? What would you be doing?
today or in life?
Right now. Yeah.
Right now? Oh
Yeah.
my God, I'd just be playing video games.
Okay.
I'm an unashamed shut-in video gamer. Not shut-in, but I'm obsessed with video games.
What's your video game of choice right now?
Okay. Yeah. So it's split between two things. My baseline game that I'm always into, and I have been since 2013. I actually have a medal, or not a medal, but like I played so much they sent me a like a 1/8 scale replica of the award that they give to the world champions when they win the final round. I have
wow.
It's called the Aegis. It's a shield. And anybody that's listening probably already knows the game based on that, but it's Dota 2, Defense of the Ancients.
Okay.
That's my baseline. It's a MOBA, and it's a five person versus 5 person team fighting game, top down. And then between that and the other games, it's like whatever is current, whatever looks interesting. I dabble. Resident Evil 9 just came out. Windrose just came out. Windrose Pirate. It's a pirate game, and I've never been into pirate games, but this one I'm obsessed with. In the first 4 days, 4 to 5 days, I have put in 100 hours.
Whoa.
Which tells you that I'm unemployed.
That's awesome.
Oops.
It's interesting. I love video games myself, but I think as you do too, I have a very addictive personality. So I try to stay away from them. There are select few games that I will play. Oh yeah, there's a select few games that I will play, but the other thing is like, man, like I don't know, like even when like the new Zelda came out. It's not Breath of the Wild, it's Tears of the Kingdom. Even when that came out, I love that game, but like I obsess over it and like kind of like push away other things in my life to where it's like I don't know.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah. I just obsess too much where it's like I don't know. It doesn't put me in the best mental state personally. So anyway,
It
uh,
certainly doesn't help you progress towards goals outside of farming building materials and extra
yeah,
weapon upgrades.
yeah. I have a phone game that I play quite frequently, which you got to get on board with that phone game. I think you'd
Mobile
like it.
games.
Yeah,
No, I'm an elitist. I'm an elitist. PC Master Race and also PC games. No mobiles.
yeah,
What is it? What do
yeah.
you play? Candy Crush? Come on.
No, it's called Summoner's War. I've been playing it for a very long time, so
You told me about this a while ago. You
I
actually
did.
tried to recruit me. You
I
tried to
did.
suck me in. Oh, you son of
I
a
sure
gun.
did. I sure did.
I remember.
It's one of those things that like new people join and they're like, "Hi, I'm new here," and everybody in the chat's like, "R.I.P. Rest in peace."
Oh no.
Like
I know exactly what that means.
sucks you in to where you can't get out.
Oh no. You're a
Anyway,
guild master, aren't you? Or like high up in the guild?
I used to, this was like probably like 5 or 6 years ago. I used to run like a top 10 guild in the game.
You
And
know
that,
lifer.
man, that's a time suck, but it teaches you a lot. Like I wish I could put it on a resume because like I'm in a guild of 30 people and it's like
Hmm?
you're coordinating all these things and it's like, to be able to stay that high level, it's quite challenging and they're all doing it for free. So how do you make someone that wants to play the game, but you want them to play it a certain way in order for us to do better, kind of thing, and they might not agree with you and whatever. So anyway,
That this might be a hot take, but like that really should go on a resume. If
yeah,
CEOs and hiring managers understood that video games and that kind of thing, like the ability to manage, run a successful like top leaderboard kind of guild and have people working for you best in the world like for free, it's
yeah,
CEO material. Like there's been no CEO can claim that they could ever have done that in real life.
right,
There's
right,
got to be some translatable skills there, you know.
yes, exactly. um okay, what is one job you had that people wouldn't believe or that would surprise people maybe?
Well, I've worked a ton of jobs.
Gotta pick one. We'll get
Yeah,
into your
that's
jobs later.
all right. Fair enough. That's tough, but that's not tough. I got one. I drove Jason Blum of Blumhouse Productions around for Sundance one year, and
Nice.
I got to I drove his kids around one time. His staff him to if he needed to go to a theater for a viewing or a dinner event for some schmoozing, or home, anything that he needed. I was basically on call for the week of Sundance. Um,
For for those who don't know who that is, can you share real quick?
yeah, Jason Blum. So Blumhouse Productions did I think they did Insidious. They did Paranormal Activity.
Uh,
Um, Blumhouse Productions excels at creating like decently good to like kind of groundbreaking horror and
mm.
on an extreme budget and making an obscene profit. Uh,
Ah,
it's in a way, Jason's kind of a genius in like the kind of business side of filmmaking, and some of the films are actually quite good from like a critical perspective. But you watch enough of them and you kind of see it's more of like a throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks, sort of
mm,
in the way of like what's profitable at the lowest cost.
yeah,
Um, but he's the name. Like if you're just like an average popcorn movie goer and you don't really like kind of watch both like you don't pay attention to like critics and you're not sucked into the YouTube world of movie reviews, people that are really well kind of established, like Red Letter Media, shout out, love you guys. Um, then if you're just a regular average dude, then he's Blumhouse and you like his stuff generally. He's the
yeah.
name in horror right now, and it has been
Okay.
for a decade.
Do you like horror movies?
I do, I really do, but it's hard to do horror right. And it
Yeah.
also depends on what kind of horror you're trying to go after. Like, is it,
Gory,
right. So like, that's the thing.
suspenseful.
Yeah. Like psychological thrillers, stuff that like the best kind of horror leans into like the unknown, because the
Mhm.
fear of the unknown is like a bigger fear than like, oh, this guy got his arm chopped off with a chainsaw. Look at all the blood. Yeah. Like you can get into like gore porn, right? But like,
Mhm.
that's not horror to me. That's just like gross out stuff. And it
Yeah.
can be done in a way that's like, oh man, that's awesome. Like, look at that. That's crazy. But good horror is like the stuff that you don't see. It's
Yeah.
the stuff that creeps around in the back of your mind, lurking in the shadows, and that isn't really shown much on screen. It's like kind of the idea, the knowledge that something's there hunting you or doing something nefarious and evil, and something that we can't understand. And the
Yeah.
best horror is the stuff that like doesn't show it much. Um,
Mhm.
but an exception to that, which is a golden exception, is The Thing. The Thing is one of the best horror movies ever, and it's like this alien creature that attacks and like infests itself into any living creature, and then it kind of overtakes it, and then you don't know, like there's people on the station, or not space station, but like a colony on another world, and they don't know who's the Thing, because it's basically it's like a body snatcher thing, and
Mhm.
but when it reveals itself, it's like horrific. I love that
Yeah.
stuff. Like just something that challenges my notion of what I know to be
Yeah.
life, something that makes me realize something like that could be out there and upend my understanding of everything. That's good horror.
I think that's why, and this isn't horror, but I think that's why people like the movie The Matrix so much, is
Hmm.
because it just
Hmm.
like, where like it
Yeah.
just shattered people's perspective of like, oh my gosh, this is a reality that we could be currently living in. That's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Simulation theory. You don't know. There's no way to prove that we're not in a simulation, but it
Yeah.
stands to reason. And this kind of almost goes into like time traveling a little bit too, or something like that, where it's like we're rapidly approaching kind of an era with all the developments in AI. Like it stands to reason we're going to create an AI that's so good, so smart, so beyond us, that it could fabricate an artificial universe and have simulations of people as it knows based on its training data, like living in it.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know we're not
Mm-hmm.
there based on an AI that had already been developed before? And then we're in that
Yeah.
simulation. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Matrix is the first Matrix movie. It's one of my favorite movies. It's so good.
Yeah. Same. Mm-hmm. Well, this is a hot take, and then we can move on. But I do not like horror movies. I don't know if you knew that, but
No.
I
Is it the gore or the
I
scary?
I get so freaked out with horror movies. Like, I remember being in a movie theater watching some movie, and like something jumped out on the screen, and I just yelled at the top of my lungs. And like, yeah, exactly. I think my reaction scared people more than the actual thing jumping out.
I
But
bet.
like,
Yeah.
I,
That's
I think
hilarious.
it'd be funny to do like streaming content where I'm playing horror movies or horror video games, because like, man, I have some of the most over the top reactions when I get scared. Like it's quite funny.
From my perspective as an editor and plugged into content creation a little bit, that'd be great, because if you actually genuinely get scared, it's hard to sell the fake reaction. Sometimes you can really tell they're just hamming it up for the stream.
Yeah.
But if you're actually genuinely scared, I think you should create a second channel and just do it. And just do
Yeah.
it. And
If I
make video gaming a side business if you can.
if I had all the time in the world, I would do that. But the
Yeah,
other
you're
thing
busy.
is, I'm curious if I would even like doing that. I think I would, just because of the entertainment factor. Like I might not like if I was playing the game on my own, I probably would be like, nope, I'm not doing that. But
Right.
I don't know. Anyway,
You'd
what's
probably like it if you got a little bit of that revenue coming in afterwards.
yeah, that is true. That is true. If we If you could learn a skill overnight, what would it be?
Oh man, that's a good one.
One of my favorites.
My first thought is something that makes me obscenely rich with almost no effort. But
Ah,
that's not much of an answer, although it speaks to me being a bit more shallow rather than
yeah,
like I would love to find a way to correct all the depression in the world through excellent therapy or something like no, I'm not.
I mean that
Yeah,
that would make you a lot of money
it would. It
theoretically.
would. Maybe that's maybe that's it. Okay, now a skill. All right, let's think. A skill. You know what? I think it would be handiwork. It would be like carpentry.
Okay,
Um, it'd be something with my hands. It'd be something that where I build something.
yeah,
Something to show physically for my efforts.
yeah,
Because I have all this stuff. I have all this clutter. I have bad ways of managing the clutter. I'd love to just be able to like make something with my own hands with the right like fittings. There's all kinds of like
yeah.
different like I don't know if it's a pigeon fit. It's some kind. There's a kind of a corner fitting in woodwork where it's like it's named after a bird. Maybe a swallow fitting. I'm not sure.
Uh,
All that stuff. I'm so amazed by people that are skilled with their hands.
mm,
It would be something like that. Maybe metalwork. Fashion myself like a Damascus dagger out of scrap that I find. I watch too much YouTube. That's probably where that's coming from. There's so many people that do that, but
yeah,
something with my hands.
yeah. Okay, interesting. I think it would be cool to just know everything that Mr. Beast knows about content. Like, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. Wouldn't
Get
it?
that downloaded into my head. I don't know.
Yeah. It's not just what's knowing what's going to be catchy. There's so much that goes into it. It's knowing the YouTube algorithm, which I mean that would
Hmm.
benefit you, would benefit everybody. He's got it
Hmm.
plugged in. He's locked in on that, and he has just copious amounts of money to throw at stuff. And I think that's like a cheat code, right?
Yeah.
Like if you want to put up good, what's going to make people watch something? Oh, what if like people stayed in a room for 48 hours and then the winner gets $50 million? Oh, that's naturally
Hmm.
compelling. I,
Yeah.
I think he's taking a shortcut there, but yeah, he's definitely good at what he does.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I've listened to a lot of him on like podcasts and stuff like that. And one of the things that he says is he's basically always poor. Like
I actually
he
watched that one.
has
Yeah.
he has a ton of money. He says he makes a ton of money off of his videos, but then he spends it on the next one right away. And it's like, what does that say about the person who has an idea or has a thought or wants to do something, has money, but doesn't want to invest it all into doing that? That's something that I've thought of. Like, obviously, I don't have Mr. Beast money, but like I could be investing more in the podcast, but it's like that's a gamble and I don't want to be homeless. And so it's like, to what extent do I not have faith in myself?
Well, I don't know that it actually speaks to your faith in yourself. I think it's once you reach a certain threshold of money that you're able to throw into something, it becomes naturally compelling, and then it's like hedging your bets. You know you're going to go viral if there's you do something kind of a little crazy as a challenge, and then you get like $5 million. That's just going to sell.
Yeah.
Um, I find it admirable, and I think it speaks to that he really believes in what he's doing, whether or not it's for the money or some shallow reason. I think he
Hmm.
genuinely he's he just is locked into what he loves to do and
I agree.
reinvesting his proceeds, his money into the next thing rather than banking it and buying like a Lamborghini or a $20 million mansion in LA. It speaks well of him.
Yeah.
There's you can say a lot about Mr. Beast, good or bad, but that speaks to his business acumen and his passion.
Yeah. 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 Well, so are we gonna spend 365 days in a podcast studio? Kidding.
God
I
help
think
me.
we'd kill each
I
other.
tapped out on day one. Get me the heck
Yeah,
out of here.
I think we'd kill each other. Maybe if we could like do something around like, I don't know, keep ourselves busy. That's actually that would be a fun thing to like, a fun idea is like just give people like whatever podcasting equipment they possibly want and keep them in a place for 6 months and they can create whatever content they want. I don't know. Anyway,
I think that'd be a
let's
great,
do it.
actually, that's interesting. I think that'd be a great way to
Yeah.
give back to like the not the content creator community, but it would turn into that, but like the people who have a vision and have creative outlet but don't have the means.
Oh
That'd be
yeah.
interesting. Like give them the equipment, whatever they need, the funding. Kind of, it would
Yeah.
just be really just a philanthropic, like kind of a donation, like there's a lot of those out there, but like it'd be great to add to the mix, see what people
Yeah.
can do.
Mhm.
And then the prize be, I don't know, going viral and like 50K. It's not a
Yeah.
bad idea.
Yeah. Well, everybody, welcome to the Rolling Forward podcast, a podcast of people who keep rolling forward no matter what life throws at them. Real people, real stories, powered by purpose, resilience, and a drive that never ends. I'm Zach Sikora. Spina bifida didn't stop me. It just gave me a better excuse to sit down while I take over the world. Today's funny t-shirt is... It's the Rolling Forward podcast logo. It's a superhero in a wheelchair and says Rolling Forward podcast. Some sort of irony about superhero in a wheelchair that I just enjoy. But anyway, let's keep rolling into... Oh, and if you want to get the shirt, you can go on to rollingforward.printful.me and buy this one and find a lot of other t-shirts that are similar themed. Also, if there's anything that you want to ask David or have a comment about, throw it in the comments. We'd love to hear it. I respond to all the comments. So anyway, let's keep rolling into today's episode with David Bowen. So David, by the way, that was inspired by you, I believe, to move the intro instead of being at like the very first thing, like kind of get into a little conversation and then do the intro. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it can be tweaked a little bit more, but anyway, so let's talk about Tourette's and ADHD and whatever other ailments you might have. So my first question around that is, do you think Tourette's and or ADHD are a disability per se?
Per se, perchance, mayhaps. Definitely. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll expound on that. Yeah. It definitely, it's troublesome, I'll say. It doesn't make life easy. The Tourette's thing, when you're a kid and growing up, I mean, like, it's kind of human nature to kind of pound on the weirdo, you know, like as kids and growing up even into high school a little bit. And you're a prime target if you're doing weird stuff like twitching and saying weird things, you know?
Yeah.
It's natural. From my perspective, there's no real upside to having Tourette's, but it comes with associative disorders, most of which also don't have any upsides. But there's one, ADHD, has some pretty awesome upsides. ADHD, there's its negative aspects. You can't focus maybe as easily as others. It can affect your memory. You can, have trouble sitting still, all that stuff. But you unlock some extra stuff that most people don't get access to. The ability to like hyper focus. Like once you're really like interested in something, you can focus on that for 6 hours easily and not feel like any time has passed and everything else is blocked out. It's incredible. It unlocks creativity, creative outlets. I have a few other things. You mentioned the Tourette's and ADHD, but I've got an executive dysfunction disorder, OCD, anxiety disorder, depression, a few other little things. But I take it all just to have the ADHD that I have. I don't think that I'd be as creative or interested in, or feel the way that I do when I play music, if I didn't have that.
Interesting. Okay, so how does let's start when you were a kid. How did Tourette's show up in your life?
Right. So it didn't manifest until I was almost 7, right around 7. That's when the symptoms were starting to pop in. I was starting to jerk around. I had tics. By the way, my Tourette's right now, it's like, I don't know if you noticed with the video, but like I'm barely doing anything at all. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not chirping or saying weird stuff. It's very mild right now. It's a rare case, but it's definitely possible for, as you get older, for Tourette's to get milder and milder. Uh,
Huh.
Typically it gets worse and worse or doesn't improve. I'm a lucky one. Um, but like as a kid, yeah, it showed up when I was 7. My parents didn't know what was going on for a while. Um, Tourette's really wasn't very well understood back then. This would have been like 1995. Um, and it wasn't all that much before then, like maybe 60 or 70 years before then, that people thought that people with Tourette's were just possessed by devils. It was kind of like a spiritual thing, and like they'd want the treatment was like an exorcism or like a burning at the stake, maybe like 120 years ago.
Oh wow.
Um, and then so it wasn't well understood. I came onto the scene when people didn't know what to do. My parents were resilient and very, very
Why are you demon possessed?
well. If you had seen me when I was 7, you would know without even asking. You would have
I
seen it.
I don't we don't have to go into what that reference was to, but I just made a reference to something else that instead of
Oh, did it fly over my
why
head? Oh
no no
no.
no. If you get it, you get it. I put in the comments. Let
Viewers,
me
do
know
you
if
get it? Drop
if
a
you guys
comment or
got it.
like below and click subscribe.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so sorry, I didn't mean to derail. It just made me think of
No, you're good.
this. Why are you demon possessed?
I haven't seen it. I fail.
I'll
But
tell you after.
all right. All right. But yeah, so I had way worse tics. Some of my tics were and there's a story here, but like I would jerk my elbow out like violently, almost all the way out. I would hit my own face with my knee, just like jerk down and bring my knee up, and I gave myself bloody noses several times from
Oh,
that. It's pretty bad. One of my worst ones was just like really tightly rubbing my big toe and the next toe together until quickly, obviously, the skin melted off from the friction and it was just open sores. And I would just keep doing
oh
it, and
my.
it would just it was a trip, man. Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
that's interesting. That like it Tourette's will harm you, right? Like you would think that like after a while of doing that, your brain would be like, all right, you got to stop. That hurts. I
you'd think.
yeah
You'd think, but
yeah.
it's weird. Tourette's is weird in that it's very sensation based, um, obviously, and sometimes like a tactile sensation you get or a movement you make or even pain that you feel, it tricks your mind. Just it's not built right, right? It's built
Mm-hmm.
different, and
Mm-hmm.
so it kind of internalizes that sensation and just wants more of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so the pain that I felt after my skin rubbed off between my toes, the pain that I felt, it was like that was the goal. And the
Ah.
longer that I didn't like grind my toes together, I felt an itch building up, and it was this pressure. And it's like leaving an itch going for too long. It usually doesn't just go away. You have to be like, all right, I'm going to get it. You know,
Yeah.
that it's wild.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
um,
Um.
yeah.
Yeah. So Tourette's right now, I see you going like this.
Mm.
Like I
This
assume
is
that's
even worse
a
than normal.
tick. That's worse
Huh?
than normal.
Yeah, what I'm doing right now, it's worse than normal.
Oh,
It's everything's so stimulus based, right? And so
why are you
I
so
know that
nervous?
well, it's not it's such a subconscious thing. Like I'm totally not nervous at all, but what's happening is like I know that I'm on a podcast. I know that, you know, some people are going to see this. It's so like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't jive with my level of anxiety, but it just like it's there anyway. So I'm blinking
Yeah.
more.
Interesting.
That's how
Okay.
it goes.
And so you don't have any like at least I've never heard. You have like you had a vocal tick, but it wasn't like a word vocal tick. Like you didn't say cuss words at people or anything like that, correct?
Right, right. No, that's called it's a minority of people with Tourette's have that. I think less than 30%.
Yeah.
It's called coprolalia, and it's yeah, that's when you shout out the curse words.
Yeah.
Luckily, God, I can't even imagine if I still had that now or growing up. I mean, as hard as my life growing up was, it would have been like 3 times worse. Like that. That's I can't imagine.
Yeah. But you did squeak, or
Yep.
can you explain that a little bit better than what I just did?
Squeak's pretty good. I think a little bit more accurate is chirping.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so here's I'm gonna do it. But what's weird about Tourette's is like you can when you see people move weird, or especially when somebody else is in the room with you with Tourette's and they're ticking over a little bit of time, if you watch them, you might start to pick up their ticks. It
So
transfers
just
to
don't
you.
do it. Don't
I'm
do
gonna do
it.
it. I'm gonna do it. I have faith in myself. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna trust that my built different brain isn't gonna screw me. All right. So it would sound like it would be like a little chirps. Actually, squeak's pretty good too. Chirps.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I had that forever. I had either that or, and I forced myself and trained myself to minimize the actual like auditory sound, like the hearable sound. And so it would, I just remembered this, now that we're talking about it. But like, I would turn it into like just a heavy exhale that's like wispy in my throat, but didn't make much of a sound. So it'd be like more like a sort of thing.
Oh.
So I took it down a notch, and it's nice because it went away. Like all the sound, my vocal tics, I don't have one. And it's weird because the DSM, I believe, still defines Tourette's as having both a motor tic and a vocal tic. At least
So you're
DSM-4 did, I think.
so you're cured. You don't have Tourette's.
Well, I'm cured. Wow, I've been moving weird and blinking. I guess I've just been choosing to. I don't know.
They need to
cured.
change the definition of spina bifida and paralysis so I can get cured too.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk to the people in the know, and I'll put in a good word for you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's how Tourette's affected you. And we'll get into a few stories if you have them. How did ADHD affect you growing up?
Oh man, like probably more than the Tourette's. That made me kind of appear as the problem child that like just wanted to annoy people and piss people off. Because I'd be
Mhm.
so high energy, I couldn't sit still. Like my teachers, but with a few exceptions, they all like they kind of hated me. I think like because I was disruptive. I couldn't sit still.
Yeah.
I always had to be fidgeting. I had to poke people and try to get their attention to say stuff they didn't want to hear anyways. Um, it made learning harder because like my attention span was so like bifurcated and diffracted and it's just all over the place. If like a bird flew by the window, suddenly I'd be looking at for like 5 minutes trying to find the bird. Um, actually, in like in my sports with baseball, I became known as the guy that would like I was an outfielder because you know the further away from the action, probably the better for my team, right? To be honest, because of my attention, and half
Oh
the
my
time I'd be
gosh.
yeah.
Playing baseball and having ADHD, like I had ADHD growing up too. I might still I don't do anything with it now, but man, I hated baseball because it was like you're either waiting to bat or you're waiting to catch a ball that may or may not come to you. And it's
Mhm.
like how do you focus for that long having ADHD? Like it's impossible. That's why they put you in the outfield.
Exactly. That only made it worse because who in middle school is hitting a ball in the outfield, you know? That's like
Right.
I've got nothing to do. So half the time I'd be picking what are they called? The little weeds that grow in the grass, dandelions. I just keep
Yeah.
picking dandelions and staring at the flowers, unaware of what was going on because it didn't matter. Except one time, the MVP catch of the year. I got a trophy for it. No big deal.
No
No big deal.
way.
So what happened was I'm sure my team and my coach was petrified that the ball actually came my way one time. Some kid just dropped a nuke, just railed it way out into left field. And I was actually paying attention miraculously, and I saw it, and I ran probably 20 yards, maybe 30 yards, like knowing where the ball was going to be when I could intercept it, just running, looking back over my shoulder. I leapt and caught it and landed on my stomach, and I caught it, and I stared at the ball for like 10 seconds, not realizing what the heck to do. It was like an alien artifact. And then my entire team was like, throw the ball in field. So my ADHD still kind of screwed me, but I got a trophy for that one. It was a good catch. Yeah. Everybody remembers it. It's my high school or middle school. I peaked at that moment, you know?
Yeah. Heck yeah. So here's one of those questions that I was asking you about before the podcast that I'll ask now. So do you think schools, especially when you and I were growing up, do you think they cater what's the question that I want to ask? It's something along like I guess the hot take, if it is even a hot take that I have, is do you think school I don't think schools really, like, even with IEPs and stuff like that, I don't think schools really catered to ADHD. Like I think, you know, I come from a family of jocks, right? And I think they all played sports, and like that was one of the things that really helped me focus is doing sports. And the more I played sports, the better I was able to focus. And like sitting in a classroom and just for hours and hours and hours, it's not very accommodating to someone with ADHD.
Yeah, no, schools don't do a good job of it. And honestly, I can't fault them that much. There's a couple variables in play, and from the way that I see it. One, it's you never really know. There's so many different learning styles. It's really hard if you're in a class of like 30 kids. How do you make a lesson plan, and how do you teach so that everybody gets the learning experience that they need? You can't, especially when somebody's with ADHD is in the class. There has to be like almost two separate programs, which is why like the circuit of like special classes exist in schools, which also are kind of crap. It's a problem that I don't think has an easy solution, but I think one of the fundamental core requirements to make it work, if it's eventually going to work, you have to have teachers that really care. And with teachers being underpaid generally, and with their own stressors in life, they're like, you know, a lot of teachers are just showing up to the job, right? And think about it for yourself, like whether you're blue collar, white collar, you do data entry, whatever, customer service, whatever it is. You're not often like somebody with ADHD in your class. It's like it requires you every day to go way above and beyond to provide an optimal learning experience. And nobody with a normal job that they aren't really passionate about really wants to put in that effort. So you just kind of get lumped in with everybody else and, you know, screw however well you learn or not learn, you know?
Yeah, I almost think it's less about the teachers and more about the resources that are given to them. Like I hear a lot of teachers are kind of deprived of like resources, and if they had more resources, they could do a lot more to cater towards different people, and all that. And the other thing I was thinking about when you said there's so many different learning styles, you know, as a coach, I think if you can apply as many of those learning styles to one lesson as possible as you're doing it. So, you know, if you're showing everybody, you're talking through what you're doing as you're hitting that forehand, right? And then you're saying, all right, now you try it, right? And maybe with sports, it's a little bit easier to cater to all the different learning styles. Like, how do you do that in English class of like getting somebody to move around or whatever? So
I think you're right. Yeah, sports is so kinesthetically like linked. I think it's a lot easier to teach with different styles. Like for instance, what you're talking about, like explaining the process, showing like the movement. But then you also have the option of like putting the racket in their hand, and if they don't, for tennis, let's say, they're not holding it quite right. They're holding it like where the racket's like this, and you want to have that angle for the top spin. You can just like grab their wrist, move the racket so that they feel the exact like how the racket should feel in their hand. You can
Yeah.
you can help them with their swings and grab their arm and carry them through the motion. Like it's a more of
Yeah.
it's a kinesthetic thing.
Yeah.
Sports are great for that. And yeah, I wouldn't know what the like the analog would be in like abstract, like English. Like how do you
Right.
learn a poem differently?
Right. Yeah. Anyway, this. Do I want to save this story
Yes, you do.
for your dad? Like, if I have your dad on the podcast, I think I want to tell him this story. I have a ton of story about your dad, but I'll
get my
skip it
dad
because
on the
it's a good
podcast.
story.
Okay.
I'd love to get your dad and your mom if I either or both are willing. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to Tourette's. So we talked about Tourette's growing up for you, ADHD growing up. What affected you more as a kid? You said it was ADHD, right?
No. Well, it's hard to know exactly, like to slice it and like know what bad things were due to this specific like
Yeah.
Tourette's, but I get what you're saying. Like, what I said was like outwardly, it made me seem more like a problem child and difficult and not wanting to do what you're told and not wanting to focus with the ADHD. Because that's like an
Yeah.
invisible issue. But with the Tourette's, I think it was worse because of the bullying. I don't think I would have been bullied half as hard if I was just an energetic kid that was a little annoying. But like with a lot of the weird tics that I had a lot. It just made me a prime target. Like the bullying was excessive daily. Starting in elementary school, third grade. Like it would be daily that I'd get one of there was a really, I'm not going to name him, but from fourth grade to like seventh grade or sixth grade, there was a kid that was the tallest kid. He was like already almost 7 feet when it was wild. Big tree dude, like just in fifth grade. And it was his daily ritual to sneak up on me in the playground area when I wasn't paying attention, and he'd run up and he'd yell "kitty shot," and just with a knuckle, just like drive his knuckle into my kidney as hard as he could every day. And that actually turned into pretty quickly I'd be peeing blood. Like I would actually have internal bleeding.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I think that was due to the Tourette's. But the beatings were frequent, but I think the worst of it was the social ostracization.
Yeah.
Not feeling like you really have a place outside of like the other weird kids that have their own table at lunch, like I hung out with them, and it was good to have that, but like feeling completely disconnected from kind of like the normal experience was tough.
Yeah, I definitely had my share of that as well. I think maybe that's why that's why we became friends in some ways. Obviously our parents being friends helped as well, but
Yeah, that was the catalyst. But yeah, I think we bonded well because of our shared experience.
Yeah. I asked my parents this, and I'm curious, what do you think affected me more, spina bifida or ADHD?
I saw that.
You saw that?
That was
Okay,
the shirt
never
that you
mind.
put out.
Well, okay.
I
Did it surprise you?
Well, I don't recall what they said. I know that I saw it. So now maybe it's a bit more genuine. I'm not going to lead on what they said. Your question is what affected you more? The spina bifida or ADHD?
What affected me more, spina bifida or ADHD? Yeah.
I would have to say it would be the spina bifida, just because I know what it's like with the ADHD myself.
Yeah.
And I would imagine not being able to walk and move around freely is more persistent and obvious. And I would say that. Am I wrong? Am I right?
Yeah.
Did I get it right?
You are wrong. ADHD. ADHD affected me far more. And it's interesting because and this is another topic that I wanted to get into with you, specifically about mental illnesses or mental, let's say, disabilities like ADHD. I never let spina bifida define me. It was always a piece of who I am, but it never fully defined me. I think I let ADHD define me. And
Hmm.
it wasn't until I got to a retail company, which I don't want to name, that I took the Strengths Finder test. And it's Strengths Finder, for those that don't know, they give you a list of, I think, 32, 35 different words that have like different meanings after you take the test. And the free version is you get your top 5 strengths. And this is basically the things that like motivate you. For example, one of my top 5 strengths is positivity. I'm an extremely positive person, and that helps motivate me and other people around me. So it's like a business book, right? And the concept of the book was, hey, listen, don't focus on your weaknesses. Everybody who's successful in life, yeah, you might need to bring your weaknesses up to like a little bit below average, let's say. But like if you focus on your strengths, then you're gonna excel, and people aren't gonna really notice the weaknesses as much, because you have all these qualities that are just absolutely amazing. And so my whole life I was going with, I have ADHD, I'm disorganized, I everything that comes with ADHD, right? Until I got to this company and I took this test, and then I started to focus on my strengths. And it I don't know, it was just that mindset switch changed everything for me. So I don't know if there's necessarily a question, but do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I would say that like that makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah, a lot of the like the greatest people, like the people that are the greatest at what they do at their craft, from like musicians to artists or whatever. The most famous of them, the best of them, they all had like massive issues, huge deficiencies. Van Gogh
Mhm.
would cut off his own ear. He was madly depressed, right? So, who was it? Sylvia Plath, or who was the poet? Who the oven? Killed herself with the oven. Like, like everybody has massive issues, but they channel that
Yeah.
into they really hone their strengths. And it's the strengths that
Mhm.
people are remembered by. It's the strengths that really make people admire them. Um,
Mhm.
and overlook every most of what else is going on that is a deficiency. So I
Mhm.
completely agree. I think that's completely right. I think you can get lost in the weeds trying to focus on every little thing that you're doing wrong. First off, that's some negative self-talk that you could get
Mhm.
lost in and constantly just be putting yourself down, and you won't grow from that.
Yeah.
Um, and also, it doesn't matter so much. Just make sure that your your deficiencies, the things you don't have a good handle on, just aren't really ruining your life or holding you back. And then focus on your strengths. I completely agree.
Yeah. Well, and then I think the other thing that kind of killed me growing up was, there is a line of, and Jordan Peterson said this in one of his rules for life. He said, "Tell the truth, or at least don't lie." But he had a little topic about, like, I always externalized it, like, don't lie to other people. And I never, until I heard him say, don't lie to yourself.
Hmm.
And one of the interesting things that I think ADHD blurred for me was, if I did something if I did something that was ADHD related, I would often say, or like I would say, "Oh, that's the ADHD. I'm not personally responsible for doing that." Does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense?
Yeah,
And
I've done that too.
it's yeah. So to talk about that a little bit, like, is there
Yeah,
like a moment, or did that click for you early on? Like, I don't know anything.
it took me a long time to kind of get a grasp on me and my issues, why I am the way that I am, and develop kind of management strategies so that I'm not indulging in that sort of thing where you just like blame your mental disorder as on the why that you're acting, or on the way that you're acting,
Yeah.
or failing to address things. Like I still struggle with it. Like I still put things off until the last minute. Um, but I've also found that like it's not that I don't want to do the task. It's because um I perform way better when I'm right against the deadline. I have like it's when it's like do or die, that's when I'm kind of refined into like, instead of just I'm refined into like this machine that just does it and does it as best as I possibly could. And
Yeah.
there's a fine line and a very subtle difference between blaming ADHD for why you put something off to that point and realizing and harnessing what ADHD can give you um in those moments where it's like, okay, I know how I operate. I know, and I'm not like eschewing the responsibility for being like a procrastinator. I just know that I need like the very last few seconds to do everything. And I'm sure you've actually probably noticed this with how often my short schedule.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not much of a work aheader. I'm a work at the last minute, and that's the way that I love to work.
Yeah.
And that's when I honestly do my best work.
Yeah.
It's just better work. Um, so
You,
yeah,
you know, the interesting thing that I do that too, by the way. However, one thing I, I I I don't like to say that that's ADHD, although it very well could be. I think it's more like for me, it's like, okay, what kind of mindset shift? Like again, another Jordan Petersonism is he talks about like you have no idea what your upside potential could be, and if you put the urgency behind it in such a way that you could be the best you possibly could be, and don't wait, kind of thing. Like it's interesting because I I don't know that I've necessarily like defined that or like gotten quite to that step, but it is interesting a thought experiment of like, you know, what is last minute, and
mm,
it is last minute truly like down to the wire? Is I don't know. Is it something that you could do a couple days in advance and challenge yourself to say, "Hey, I have to have this done 2 days in advance," or something like that? And again, it's something that I'm still struggling with as well. That
sure.
there is something about that deadline that you have to do it now that allows you to work super efficiently.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I know what you're saying. There's definitely, I'm sure, strategies that where you can kind of trick your mind into thinking the deadline is now, but it's 2 days before
Mhm.
the actual deadline. Like I said, like this is
Yeah.
something I'm still managing. So it's like I haven't figured that out. Like obviously, if I could do everything that I wanted to do every moment that I felt like I should do it, like I'd probably be worth a lot more money and have my own company. And you can always do everything
Yeah.
like just so much better and more ideally, especially when somebody else is looking at it and from an outside perspective and having a bit more of a broader view on it. But I think at the
Yeah.
baseline, the bottom line, the most important thing is that you know how to work with your disability. You know how to work with your limitations and not just work with, but like harness it for in ways that actually work, even if it just works for you and it's not always what everybody else would ideally like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I like that. So let's go back to ADHD, Tourette's, all that. Is there so you had the one guy that was like, kidney punching you.
Yeah.
Are there any other like stories that stand out from your childhood that were like bullying stories?
Yeah. So, I mean, how much time we got? Uh, One of the prominent ones that has stuck with me viscerally all this time. It was third grade. I was at a private Catholic school, and what ended up happening, because my Tourette's was
What?
quite bad at oh
Never
because
mind. I was gonna ask you a question, but that's probably like a question that I can ask you afterwards.
all right.
I was gonna ask
uh,
you what school it is, but you probably don't want to put out it's like what was the year, make, and model of your first car? Like those are like questions that you get from your bank, and they're like, yeah. So never mind. I'm not gonna ask you that.
yeah, I wouldn't want to put them in hot water. Hopefully they've improved since then, but same reason I won't name the teacher. But she was
Yeah.
horrible, and because my Tourette's was so bad then, I don't honestly, I wouldn't have known what to do either if I was the teacher. But what she did, and I wouldn't have done this to any kid, is the classroom was originally kind of normal, where it was like there were just rows of seats with the built-in desk on the side, and there's a desk and the seats built into it, just like rows of like five, 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 and five, right? Eventually got to the point
Mhm.
where I was taking so bad that she rearranged the classroom so that everybody was like in a circle and I was sitting in the middle, so that I would be more focused on, because of my bad behavior. And every time that I had a bad tick, it was like she made me stand up and apologize for it.
No way.
Yeah, that was some brutal psychological
Wow.
warfare.
I think a teacher, if they did that in 2026, they'd get fired, right? Hopefully, I
Oh
don't
my,
know. Like,
yeah, they'd have a lawsuit. There would be a GoFundMe page for me. I'd make $200,000. It would be a whole different landscape.
yeah,
Um,
right.
so
Wow.
that's one from the teacher. There's plenty from teachers, but one other one was from another kid, and I was just talking about my mom, about it with my mom earlier, and I was doing like, it was a Shakespeare play that we were doing as the kids. I
Mm-hmm.
think this was middle school, and one of the girls
Mm-hmm.
just for without provocation just slapped the hell out of me, and I didn't see it coming. I didn't know why. I guess the kids just kind of, she knew everybody would think it was funny because everybody just hated me, kind of, So, um,
Oh.
just slapped me across the face, just outright. And my mom was there as a parent, like, volunteer to help with stuff. She witnessed the whole thing. Um, I didn't react. I didn't know what to do. You don't know what to do in that situation. You're just kind of in shock. And
Yeah.
afterwards, the principal called me in because everybody saw what happened. The kids laughed. They were saying, "Oh, you got hit by a girl, haha." And the teacher saw it, and so the principal called me in afterwards at the end of the day and asked me what I thought her punishment should be, which is kind
Oh.
of kind of some Machiavellian stuff, to be honest. Like, that's just, shouldn't you know? You're the principal, don't you know how to handle this stuff? But
Yeah.
my response was nothing. She shouldn't have any punishment. Um, and reflecting on that, I think it's probably because I knew that if, like, teachers or the administrative people got involved and directly intervened, it would just get worse for me, because that's kind of how bullying goes.
Um,
I think you have to
yeah.
resolve generally your own bullying, and you can't let adults step in for you. Otherwise, it just gets worse. They just find ways
Um,
to carry it out in ways that are not
mm.
as visible but are worse.
Well, the other thing I was thinking of is like, is this principal gonna go tell this girl, "Hey, David thought of this punishment, and therefore you have to do it," and then like, if that were to get around that the punishment was your idea, that's gonna be even worse for you as well. I don't know.
I'd find it hard to think that that detail would have slipped, but it's possible. I think just the
Yeah.
fact that there was any punishment, I think my mindset was that I just want to keep my head down and try to be. It was an impossible goal given how obvious my tics were, but I wanted to keep my head down and be as invisible as possible. And I think that if she knew that she was getting
Yeah.
punished directly for slapping me, even though well deserved, they'd find ways to punish me for the punishment.
Yeah. Do you what were some things that like people said to you growing up?
Um, it was actually a lot less about what people said to me. It wasn't a lot of verbal bullying.
Oh,
What it
well,
was,
that's good. I'm
a
kidding.
lot of, yeah,
Sorry.
I guess at least there wasn't that. Uh, but there was a lot of mimicry. There was a lot of people like maliciously imitating my tics to me so that they could see
Oh,
how weird I look.
oh,
Exaggerated movements of what I do to make me feel bad. Um,
yeah,
and a lot of like weird looks, a lot of rumors, a lot of the subtle social ostracization tactics.
yeah.
Um, they didn't need to tell me
Mm-hmm.
stuff, although I mean they did. Nothing sticks out though. It's more the physical abuse, the beat ups, and like the mimicry. That was
Yeah,
those were the main tactics.
yeah. Okay.
I do.
Anything else? Go ahead.
I do remember one thing, and I think my family's gonna watch this, so you know, whatever. It's just kid stuff. Keep that in mind, guys. But
Hi,
I
mom
was
and
going.
dad.
Well, more of my sisters. Uh,
Yeah.
the kids in my grade and the grade above would like probably just trying to get a rise out of me, but they would ask me constantly because they knew I was adopted. They would ask me, you know, don't you think your sisters are hot? You know, like you can think that you're adopted. It's like you're not blood related. That would be every week.
Weird.
They would ask me like, they would just like bully me in a subtle way like that. Like, hey, you could just tell us, you think your sisters are hot, right? Like it was that kind of stuff all over the place. I
Weird.
didn't like it. Like
Okay. Well,
it felt wrong. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. I mean, my friends made jokes about my sister as well, and I'm her brother, like
Mm,
biological brother as well. So yeah,
mm.
I get that. It was highly inappropriate and annoying that people would do that. Um, okay. Anything else about bullying that you want to bring up?
Mm. Well, a, a common question I think people get asked or think about is like, you know, would I change all the bad stuff and not make it exist so that I wouldn't have had to endure that? Um,
Yeah.
I would, but I wouldn't. What I would do is I would just change the severity. Uh,
Mm,
but I think that some of the bullying really kind of tempered me. Um, I think in a way, even though when I was younger, I was very impatient just because I was dealing with a lot of body stuff, a lot of social issues. I was kind of like impatient and I think frustrated, and I took it out on my parents a little bit. But it's given me, I think, later, especially high school on, a lot of like perspective and empathy towards people that are going through a lot of the same stuff, that have disabilities, that have mental either illness or a dysfunction, a brain chemistry issue. Um, I don't know
yeah.
who I would be really if I was just kind of normal and I was really more successful at an early age. Maybe things
Mm-hmm.
would be better, but I don't even think that I'd care. Like I like who I am, and I know that a lot of it's tied to just being tempered in the fire of some of the bullying early on. Um,
Yeah.
it's complicated.
Yeah.
It's complicated, but yeah, I think about this a fair amount here and there.
So you would temper it down, but not get rid of it entirely. Is that
I don't think the daily kidney punches were necessary. I don't think I needed to be pissing blood. Um,
sure?
I don't know. I temper it down, but I think that like adversity really kind of, depending on who you are, some people really crumble or fold under adversity. I'm not the kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I found that like I grow and grow stronger and become just better through adversity and stress.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to have gotten rid of a great source of that early on. I just diminish the severity of it a bit, but I wouldn't get
Right.
rid of it.
Yeah. Talk to me about special classes and IEPs and all that. For those that don't know, explain what an IEP is first.
Oh God, what is that? Individual education plan? Is
And
that what?
yeah, something like
I
that.
think that's. I think what.
Individual improvement plan. I thought no, that's I think that's work related. Yeah, individual something plan.
Yeah. Well, it's basically just like a specialized, customized, built for you sort of plan to help you succeed at the school. And usually that involves like special things like extra time on tests, um, in consideration of your ADHD, or special classes where you're like taken out of the class that you would be in normally, put in a different area with like maybe 5 kids, learn kind of the same
Mm-hmm.
stuff, the gist of the same stuff, but in a smaller environment that's a bit more catered to individual needs, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's a they're good things. Kids like me, a lot of kids need IEPs. They're beneficial, but it ties back into kind of like what I think a core issue in the effectiveness of a kid's learning process is how much a teacher cares. And I think my worst learning experiences were from the special class that I was in. I think in middle school, early middle school, it was kind of general studies. It was English. I think there was math and like a couple other subjects taught all in the one classroom with like 4 or 5 other kids. IEPs, great idea. But it depends on how passionate a teacher is on really helping kids. And I think I can't speak to the majority, but from my experience, the teachers in charge of like the special classes, specialized IEP kind of plan classes, I think they're in that position because that's kind of what they could get. I think sometimes it's
Mm,
not the most passionate, helpful adults that fill those roles. It's the adults that get cycled into it that need the job and that can babysit, but they're not really specialized in any educational study. So I think some of these teachers probably couldn't teach like English class for that grade, but they could get by in a special class. So I think it's kind of a catch-22. That's been my
interesting.
experience.
So I I can see where you're coming from, and the reason I'm smiling is because my mom is a special ed teacher. And I
She helped
think
homeschool me a little bit.
she yeah, yeah. Um, but I think I'm curious if the teachers that you work with, I think they had the same credentials as my mom. I think I could be completely wrong on that, but I do know that you have to have like extra education in order to get to that spot. Um, but I agree with you to an extent that sometimes the teachers in those spaces maybe didn't see. You know what I think it is
Hmm.
I think it might be that teachers thought of you as less than, and so they didn't push you as hard as you needed to be pushed. Because you have learning disabilities or whatever else. Thoughts?
Well, that begs the question, like, well, they're in that role to teach a specialized class with kids that have the issues. And if their natural
Yeah,
inclination is to see a kid with the issues and think they're lesser and thus not try, that kind of speaks to my point. Like, is it like, why are they there? Like, they have to really be passionate
yeah,
about like putting up with more of the bull crap and the frustrations. Cause,
yeah.
and maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe they don't, maybe it's not that they don't have the credentials to teach a different kind of class, but I think putting myself in their shoes, I would think that I'd get burned out pretty quick if I taught
Mm,
a couple years or 10 years of just really difficult kids or kids that don't seem to learn
mhm,
right or the ways that you don't know how to teach them in the correct way and you're just banging your head against the wall. I can understand
mhm,
that that frustration that builds up. Sometimes that might just burn you out and then you coast. And I think maybe my
mhm,
experience with my teacher in that special class, she was probably already in her burned out era.
mm. Yeah.
But
I wonder if we had similar ones. I had an IEP as well, but it was mostly for like organization and then like taking longer on tests, let's say. So
yeah, I had the
similar.
extra time on tests that helped with my ACT SATs. Um, just because it took me twice as long to just focus to even read the prompt, the question. Performed very well.
Yeah.
My 34 on my ACT out of 36. SATs was, I think, like high 14 or low 15 out of 1600.
Nice.
Um, but
Wow.
that extra time was necessary. I would have done horribly if I had to, you know, do it in the same amount of time. So
So you got extra time on those? It's interesting because there was
yeah,
like
time and a
for
half, I think.
me, oh, it's interesting for me, it was like for the SAT, I don't think I took the ACTs, but for like the SATs, there's like a math and science portion and then like a English and reading portion or something like
Hmm.
that, right?
Hmm.
And you get two different scores on those. And I remember having to take it twice. And what I do is I focus extra on the math and science portion the first time and then breeze through the English and reading section or whatever the sections were.
Hmm.
And then the second time I I took my time, I breezed through the math section and took my time on the English and reading section.
Hmm.
And then you can add those scores together to get your one SAT score. And I remember I couldn't take it fast enough before the time ran out. So
Did you
I
get
don't know.
did you get extra time on those?
I don't remember getting extra time, but
If you
I
had the
don't
extra
know.
time with the IEP, it should have applied to both of those as well. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but oddly
Maybe
enough,
I took
math,
it,
huh?
and maybe I took it. I don't know, but I still remember not being able to finish it all.
Yeah, oddly enough, math is like has always been my weakest link. Like the only math I'm decent at
Mm,
or good at even is statistics. But
mm.
algebra, geometry, all that stuff, terrible. But that was my highest. I think if I remember right, that was my highest score on the ACT.
Oh,
Weird, but
interesting. Math was your highest score, and that's your weakness. Interesting.
yeah. If I'm remembering right,
Okay.
I kind of remember being surprised by that fact. I think I got 1 point less
Yeah.
on the reading comprehension or the English part.
Yeah. Um. So, do you ever use humor with ADHD or Tourette's, or did you try growing up to do that at all? Or
Growing up, no, I didn't really. I wasn't really mature enough, or I didn't have the perspective where I was able to make humor out of it. It was just a really bad
yeah,
situation. I
yeah,
felt terrible all the time, terrible about myself, terrible about how people thought of me, all that stuff. I wasn't able to, I wish I could have like done the comedian thing where like the best comedians are the ones that are able to craft their dark moments and find the humor in it. And I can do that now.
yeah,
But back then it was just like just trying to get through each day and not, just hate myself. Um,
yeah, y-
and now I don't know. I don't really have any occasion to think about things with Tourette's in a funny way. It's so minimal right now. I'm so blessed. Like it's so
yeah,
mild. I barely take it all. And
yeah,
with the ADHD, I think rather than it being like humorous moments being about the ADHD, I think my ADHD kind of is the channel through which I find humor from other things. Like I find weird things funny, like things that find something funny about something that like people wouldn't even notice. And I just laughed to
yeah,
myself, mentally, like that's hilarious, but nobody saw it. I'm
yeah,
just wired a bit
yeah,
different. I don't have an example, but like I'm just wired a bit different.
yeah. Okay. It's interesting. Growing up, I made a lot of jokes about my disability wheelchair, but I don't think I did a lot with ADHD, which, letting it define me, I guess that was a big insecurity for me or something. I don't know. Interesting.
Stands to reason. Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, if someone listening to this has Tourette's or ADHD or is a parent slash friend of someone with it, what's what advice would you give them for reflecting on how you've lived with it?
Yeah. All right. Well, if my mom watches this, I think she'll agree. But it took a while maybe it took reflection rather than while I was still a kid to figure it out. Um, I think one of the most important things if you're raising a kid, or even have a sibling or something, a close family member that has some pretty obvious mental or physical issues, do not mollycoddle them. Do not just make things easy for them. Nope. Do not. That's the number one thing. Let them struggle. And that's part of the tempering thing I talked about. I see you agree too. Um, yeah,
Fully.
yeah. You have to let them figure it out. Because if they don't when they're early, if when they're young, they don't know how to cope. They don't learn their own ingrained sort of uh, ways to move forward and become better. What are they going to be like as an adult? They're going to be a child version of themselves as an adult. And I
Mhm.
think that's common with a lot of people with Tourette's, from what I understand, um, that they can't hold a job or they're just living at home. They're pretty much um, just a kind of adult children in a way. And I think that's because parents don't know, because obviously a parent wants to make things easier for the kid. They don't want to see him struggle. They want to help.
Mhm.
But it's like cutting a butterfly out of a cocoon too early. The wings won't be
Mhm.
strong. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, it's interesting because I agree. I agree with that to an extent, but at a certain age, I think there's a moment where you need to wake up and take some accountability for your own actions. And like, yeah, like there might have been coddling when you were a kid, but now you're an adult now, and so it's time to start making steps on getting stop making excuses for your past
right,
and holding yourself responsible for your actions today, you know?
right.
But good.
Just gonna say, like that's a common thing I've heard. Like the pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, kind of like just do it, right? Like just you got to do
Ooh,
it. Just do it.
I wouldn't say it's that, but you keep going with your point.
All right. I would just say that like if resilience and discipline are foreign concepts to you when you're growing up, then it's not so easy as to be like, as an adult, well, I have to hold a job. I'm just going to be more disciplined. Discipline, it's crucial to develop these skill sets as a kid. And when things are handed to you and things are just made easier for you and all the shortcuts are given to you as a kid, you take away development in those areas. And then you end up as an adult without the appropriate life skills, management strategies, self discipline to be successful. And sometimes it's not a switch you can ever flip on. You're just going to constantly,
Mm,
for a decade, be fighting something that you never had to learn as a kid. And then you're going to
mm,
be surpassed by your peers by a decade, and everybody's going to be far beyond you. And you're going to be the one living alone, making almost no money, wondering how the heck does everybody that I used to know have a family and a good job and like happy with their life. It's
mm.
it's 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 formative. It's the formative years. It's what you're forced to have to learn as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
as far as I do not and am not suggesting to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. I think one of the big things that's been a life changer for me has been listening to podcasts. Like I'm not much of a reader. I don't like reading. It's funny. I watched this short one time that was like, it's reading with ADD is you start reading and you find a thought about something that you're reading and your mind just wanders, why you continue to read subconsciously the whole page, and then you're like, well, what the heck just happened, as you come back to it, and it's like, anyway, I think, the podcasting has really helped, meeting with friends and having like weekly accountability sessions, let's say, and like talking goals and all that. I think all of that has been like instrumental to my growth in the last, like, say 5 to 10 years. Um and so I think if somebody had enough of a drive to get out of that, if they're smart, like if they're intelligent people, they don't have like Down syndrome, let's say, or something like that. Like, I think it'll be hard, but I think that person can do it.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying it can't be done, but sometimes it can't. But yeah, no, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is kind of going back to what I was saying about like the IE the well, kind of like letting ADHD define you, and how I let ADHD define me is like, it wasn't until I got like a retail job and they threatened to fire me that I realized that I couldn't show up late anymore. And it was like that that's where that line was blurred throughout my childhood of like, oh, I can turn in things late, it doesn't matter. And like, you're just talking about how you don't exercise that skill, and it's like, I don't know, that where's that line to be able to draw, like, hey, go ahead.
Which skill? Not being late?
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, that's just one of many adult skills that you have to learn. And like, as an IEP, we could turn in, we could take longer on tests, or at least for me, I could turn in assignments late. And it's like, okay, I can make an excuse that it's my ADD doing this as a kid, but then when I got to adulthood, it's like, no, I can't do that. Adulthood is happening.
World, yeah.
You're gonna get fired.
Yeah. The growing before you become an adult and have a real job. Yeah, it's like a bubble. It's a bubble to hopefully maximize your growth, but the safety rails are off when you're an adult. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I would have, if I was turning in stuff late, like I worked at this job for 8 years until recently, and like everything would have to be on time. Like, it wouldn't need to be like done ahead of time, as long as I had to target when it needed to be done. And that's kind of the world of like digital deliverables, and kind of the work that I did was like, there's soft deadlines, there's hard deadlines.
Yeah.
And soft deadlines are like ideal. Hard deadlines this is where it needs to be done. And I never missed a hard deadline, and there was always wiggle room at the softs.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, let's get into a little bit of lightheartedness and do wheelie bad jokes.
All right.
So here's how wheelie bad jokes works: is I'm going to tell you a joke. I want you to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. And then if you have a joke that you want to tell back, you're welcome to tell me a joke that you have. Are you ready for a wheelie bad joke?
Hit me with it.
A man with Tourette syndrome has a pet store selling birds. He couldn't figure out why the parrots were always returned. That's the audible Tourette's type thing. Like,
yeah, that's good. You didn't even really need a punchline.
Yeah. Okay. I have 2, but do you have one that you want to tell?
I don't really have a Tourette's one.
That's okay.
To be honest, I'm terrible at bad jokes, but I mean, here's one. Such a throwaway. I'm terrified of elevators, but I'm taking steps to improve it.
I like that one.
It's all right. Good. It's all right.
I think I've heard that one. I should I should use that. Like that's got to be some sort of disability wheelchair joke in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you could craft your own.
Yeah. I'm taking steps to improve it. Okay, here's my other one. I filled out a job application last week, and under disabilities, I put narcolepsy and Tourette's syndrome. So not only will I be able to sleep at work, but if someone tries to wake me up, and I can tell them to F off.
That's great. If only Homer Simpson had that. That would be his ideal life at the nuclear power plant.
Yeah, there's a South Park episode of them doing that too. I think like Kyle or Cartman or somebody had Tourette's syndrome. And they're just cursed at people.
Yeah, yeah. It's sometimes it's hard to get them to believe that it's what's going on, but if you could actually pull it off, it's fun to curse at people sometimes.
Yeah. Have you ever done that with Tourette's?
I honestly I don't really have the balls to. I would imagine that like that's the thing though. That's the thing. If you don't have that and you get into it with somebody that you've known for a little while and you're pissed off at them, you can't just pull it out because they've never seen you do it before. You have to have an established history. So you really got to commit to the game long term, just to build like the alibi, right?
Yeah.
So that you can say this is what I do. Screw you, right?
Yeah. Well, you could do it with like I don't know, a new teacher or like, I don't know, on a first date or something like that. That'd be kind of funny.
But then you have to keep it going.
Then you have to keep
all
it going.
Year with the teacher.
Well, you could do it for a day and then be like, I was just kidding. But then like, then they're like, but you just cursed at me for an entire day. So I've got to penalize you for that. The teacher.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Maybe not the date.
You got to be in it for the love of the game of spite to really well.
Yeah. Okay, what would you first of all, the of the two jokes, the parrot joke or what was the other one that I did? The job application. Which was your favorite out of those two? Sounds like the second one based on your reaction.
Well, no, actually I think I like the first one better.
Oh,
because it took a beat and then I had to think about it for a second. I'm like, oh, and I like that little element of it. The second one, they're both good. If I could grade it, I'd give the second one like a 7, but I'd like the first one would be an 8 out of 10.
Oh wow, okay, those are pretty high ratings.
Yeah.
I'm also surprised you haven't heard either of those, being that you have Tourette's yourself, and I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know a lot of comedians or people with Tourette's. So I haven't been exposed to it. But
there is a comedian that I've heard, but anyway, there's also a streamer that that has Tourette's as well. So
the girl,
I don't know. I don't know if she's still streaming.
I know who you're referring to. Yeah, Sweet Anita.
Sweet Anita. Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's cool. I've seen her a few times, but I don't watch her much.
Yeah, I don't either. Okay, let's get into the theme podcast question. What keeps you rolling forward, David?
Oh, what keeps me rolling forward? Well, as you know, I'm kind of in a period of liminality. I'm in a transitionary kind of stage right now between jobs, looking for work, and that really, in a way, speaks to what I enjoy because I like the unknown. I like a bit of chaos. I like not knowing. That's why I've liked moving cities as much as I have a few times, not really knowing what was going to happen. Maybe the job I moved for would work out. Maybe it wouldn't. I enjoy the unknown. And being in situations where I'm constantly facing unknowns, I actually wake up feeling refreshed. I like it.
Interesting.
It's a bit of an esoteric kind of abstract idea, but one more concrete one is actually my girl Lori. I don't know. There's a lot of things about her that really kind of just make my days a lot better.
Mm.
And I don't know, she lives with me, so like every day I just feel, I don't know, super cozy, super happy, and I credit a lot of that to her. Um,
Yeah.
it would be a lot harder, I think, right now if I didn't have her in my life. So
Mm. Yeah. So she keeps you rolling forward. I love that. Speaking of, you said that you have some unique relationship advice, let's say, or you just something along those lines. You mentioned that we could get into relationships and all that. I think this is a good transition into that. And my first question with that is, um, how does ADHD, Tourette's, you mentioned some other like depression and stuff like that. You mentioned some others. How do all those affect you in relationships?
man, all right, that's a good question.
And
So
I also want to say I think it's interesting that so how long have you and Lori been dating?
actually just about 2 years. We're
Yeah.
coming up on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's in any relationship there's challenges, and I think this just adds to those challenges. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So the fact that you're together for 2 years, that speaks volumes to what you've been doing that has worked and been effective. So
yeah, no, in different ways, we're a really good match. And really
yeah.
2 years is kind of a starting point. Really, year and a half, 2 years is where I'm really thinking, okay, it's in serious territory. Up to that
Yeah.
point, it's kind of really, I'm a bit of a slow mover. So, I take things slow generally with emotional development and thinking of the future. So it takes a little while to get there, but yeah, we're at that point now. Um, but yeah, the Tourette's, so maybe surprisingly, maybe not, but really in any of my relationships have never been an issue at all. In
Mm.
fact, um, one of my exes told me a few times that she thought like my arm ticks were like she found them endearing, like when she had
Hmm.
her head on my shoulder and like I'd tense up like that, like a tick.
Hmm.
It's those haven't been problems. What are problems is the ADHD,
Hmm.
because having ADHD, it I think it really makes me less conscientious, and
Mm.
I don't think about like my partner like in like a normal average everyday kind of way,
Hmm.
because I'm just either hyper focused on something that I'm doing or just distracted with whatever, chasing butterflies,
Hmm.
whatever. Um so but I
Don't go
recognize
chasing
this.
butterflies.
Yeah, thanks. TLC, THC, whatever you want to call it. Or waterfalls. It was waterfalls.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, don't go chasing waterfalls.
Well,
Um,
I think I just blended
Stick
two
it to
songs
the
together.
rivers and the lakes that you're used to. Yeah, you know that one. Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but
It's
there,
waterfalls. Sorry.
I
Keep going.
it's all good, man. Yeah, I noticed that like that's one of my faults, and I recognize it frequently, and I'm trying to work on it. But conscientiousness is not one of my greatest strong suits,
Mm.
and I credit that to the ADHD. I credit to the executive dysfunction, um,
Hmm.
that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
sometimes I forget to do like the chores, or like often, like we agree that I'll make breakfast. Um, I'm great at breakfast, by the way. It's like besides steaks, breakfasts are my thing, right?
Okay.
And then like I'm like, yeah, definitely make breakfast like tomorrow morning. And then I wake up and I have no recollection of it at all for no reason. It's just like it's out of my mind until like 1 in the afternoon, and she doesn't say anything, but I'm like, oh, I was supposed to make breakfast. And then I do. I just make lunch, but breakfast, breakfast and
Oh,
lunch.
cool. Okay.
It's I swear I have no reason other than to blame the ADHD for it. It's just bad working memory.
Yeah.
The executive dysfunction too is that prefrontal cortex stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And somebody that's not as patient as she's very patient.
Yeah.
And she works well with me. Um,
Okay.
and so but I think that somebody that's less patient, somebody that's less understanding, it wouldn't have gotten to 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What other piece of advice would you give someone?
Yeah. So I don't know that I have any unique advice, but I do have something that I strongly believe that I learned and kind of internalized after my last relationship,
Yeah.
which was overall, it was a little on and off, but it was overall 5 years. Um, and it is the moment that like contempt enters the relationship, it's either you have to recognize it, address it right away, or it's over. Like
Mm,
when you start doing things out of spite, you start thinking about your partner spitefully thinking the worst of them, like, oh, they have these faults, like they're probably not going to do this thing that I was
mm,
hoping they do. Like they just suck. And then when you start, if you get into an argument, right? And that you just like subtly start just like attacking them,
mhm,
without just directly insulting them. When you just feel spite, that's a death knell. I think for me, in my experience, it's the number one killer.
mm.
And it's easy to miss. And I think I had that with Gina, which was my last girlfriend, for a few years, maybe
Whoa.
2.5 years. And I didn't recognize it. And it wasn't always, but I kept going back to the spite thing. And only after I was able to reflect on it after it had ended, did I realize
Uh,
what that was. So
uh,
my advice would be, if you feel spiteful, if you really want it to work, do some self-reflection, think about that, and think about why you're feeling that way, and do everything that you can to get past it, even if it means letting go of something that you feel you're right about, and let that go. Because being right sometimes isn't worth losing your relationship over. Sometimes you just
yeah.
let things go.
Yeah. Is it something that you it sounds like you look internally, but is it ever something that you address with the person themselves?
That's hard to do. Um, I've I don't shy away from calling certain things out.
Balls and strikes, yeah.
Yeah, basically, I try to do it tactfully because it's never good to just like point fingers and accuse and say you're doing this, because sets them on the defensive. Then you'll have a whole other fight within the fight you're already
Right,
having, right?
right.
But I don't shy away from it. But you have to be real careful. It's kind of almost like an art to do that
Uh-huh.
in an effective way, because
Yeah,
nobody wants to hear how they're messing up. Nobody wants to hear that they're making mistakes, or that how they feel is wrong or incorrect in some way, you know? And so
yeah.
immediately you're going to get in another fight. So one strategy that I have kind of figured out, and it's not a dishonest strategy. It's honesty through and through, but it's how you say it, and it's how you say it. So if I have a criticism, or I need to point something out with, let's say Lori, right? Um, Something she's not doing, or something that's been frustrating me, right? I try not to bring them up unless I'm also guilty of it, so that we
Mm,
are kind of more on an even playing field. And then when I bring it up, I couch it kind of in, I'm guilty of this
we
too.
yeah.
We basically, as much of an even playing field rather than pointing fingers. That's the way to build bridges. You can't build bridges like when you're like this. But
Hmm.
if it's an even playing field, you can build a bridge across that, even if it takes an hour or two in an argument.
So, do you intentionally like, let's say it's something she's doing, but you're not doing. She's doing wrong, but you're doing right, let's say.
That's
Um,
tough.
do you intentionally do it wrong so that you can be like, "We," or like, I would say
No,
that's a dishonest. I'm not saying I'm not suggesting do
that's
that, but
right. That's some Machiavellian stuff. That'd be
yeah.
real clever. That'd be real clever. And only I would know, right? But no, I I don't. One thing that I really try to do, and I think that a lot of people think of this of themselves, but and maybe it's true, maybe a lot do. Maybe I'm not so unique. But I really try hard to be perfectly honest in everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
and the ancient, I think it was the ancient Greeks had a word for this. They called the Parisiastes or the Periastes,
okay.
where someone had like a job where it was their job to speak truth to power, basically, and tell even the most powerful people, even up to emperors, like tell them what they're doing wrong and their faults. And
Okay.
a lot of times they met an unfortunate end, but like it was a lifestyle, kind of like a stoic lived a certain kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, despite the adversities that it brings. Like I try to be as honest as possible. So it's hard to be critical of somebody in a relationship when you can't give them kind of a reciprocal thing for them to use, not
Yeah.
use, but like to soften the blow, to make it seem more equitable. Um, that's a puzzle. That's a puzzle. I haven't fully
Yeah.
figured it out. I'm only learning like the little first steps into managing it. I think anybody that's been married 40 years, actually, my parents would be great with this question. They'd give you all sorts of things that they do, strategies.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm still figuring it out, but I'm doing my best.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe they'll put it in the comments. No,
I'll,
I was
I'll
just
ask them to.
kidding. Yeah.
I bet they would. And I'll help them make a YouTube account so that they can make a
Yes.
comment.
Yes. I love it. Um, okay, so by the way, everybody, the way I plan this episode is there's a lot of things that I want to talk to David about, but I didn't want to like speed up every single topic to be able to cover them all. So there's definitely going to be a part two at some point of us talking. Um, but I think the last topic that I want to touch on is, can you just run through and kind of tell us a little bit about all the jobs you've had and in the like what what made, like, what caused that, what made you want to do that, if that wasn't forced and all that. So
Great question. Yeah. So I've had a good number of odd jobs and like short stints at just a wide range of work. And maybe the why is actually even the more interesting thing. But let me kind of just go through broad strokes the job progressions I've had, and then maybe I'll talk about the why.
okay.
So, and this will be a quick rundown, right? So
Yeah, you're good.
high school, I needed just a way to make some pocket change for the weekend, right? So I worked as a host at Lone Star Steakhouse,
Mm,
right by the church on Mill Run. There was a Lone Star right there, and so I
mm-hmm.
worked there. I was a private ski instructor. After I was a ski instructor at Park City Mountain Resort in Utah, one of the best in the country. Um, I have I spent a year teaching problem children, just like children with like oppositional defiance disorder, a wide gamut of behavioral problems,
Mm,
helping them kind of learn management strategies and also learn fundamentals like the alphabet and numbers and stuff. Out in Utah, I worked as a disability law advocate, working alongside lawyers, making sure that people with severe mental physical disabilities in Utah, Salt Lake City, weren't being taken advantage of by employers, their landlords, or in some cases, the state institutions, which I would often make weekly visits to, like basically the insane asylum, and talk to people there that were interred in their rooms and make sure that they weren't being abused by staff.
interesting.
Um, as a babysitter for 5 years for one family of three kids, three boys. Uh, gosh, gotten landscaping. So I've done a whole lot. Well, obviously video editing,
Mm-hmm.
documentary work, and in addition to the other side of things and YouTube. Um, I swear I'm leaving out like five other things, but just that's the long and short of it. Wide range of stuff. Um, but I think more interesting is why. So I've never felt like I had a very strong sense of direction or purpose, um, or passion. I've always felt like it's something that I should have. People have it, so I should have it. And I'm something's wrong with me that I haven't like been gripped by this career that I want to do. Like, I'm really envious of my nephew Noah. Like 2 years into high school, he knew he wanted to just follow in the footsteps of his mother and his grandfather to become a dentist. I
Mm,
never had any conviction like that.
mm-hmm.
Nothing was like that for me. And I know that in a couple of your podcasts, you've talked about the whirlwind.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of similar, like not knowing how to go forward, getting caught up in like a bit of a spin, you
Yeah.
know. It's kind of the way I've been my entire life. And honestly, I'm back in there a bit again now. Because finding video editing work is tough out here in Los Angeles. There's not a lot of global freelance work to pick up.
Mm,
And I'm maybe facing the idea of pivoting outside of video editing into something more mundane and less creative. And I'm dreading it.
yeah.
Um, but I've always been kind of a jack of all trades kind of guy. I also did carpentry actually for a short stint.
Wow.
I worked alongside renovators, I think at my Taryn's old house. We had to break up tile, lay a new tile, do some woodwork, do electrical stuff. I hung around the guy and I helped him out. Um, but I've always been jack of all trades. I like the variety, and this
Mm-hmm.
speaks to my ADHD too. Like
Mm-hmm.
kind of being focused, but being bifurcated. Right. I
Yeah.
latch onto anything that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so I like doing all kinds of different stuff, but the drawback, as interesting and fun as it is, it's not really great if you're trying to develop a solid career in one direction
Right.
and building on that and climbing the ladder.
Right. Interesting.
So
Okay.
something I'm still
Well,
figuring out now.
yeah. So what would be like if you had all the money in the world and or money didn't matter, what would be your dream job? Or
Unemployment.
unemployment?
No,
Okay.
no. My dream job, man, that's a really good one. What would I want to do? There's a lot of stuff I don't like. I hate
What
sales. Oh, that's another one. I was a printer salesman,
oh,
MFP, multifunctional peripheral, like all-in-one copier salesman for a while.
that
Worst
sounds
job of my
fun.
life. It was a whole year of walking, like hitting the pavement, doing cold calls, and
Oh,
trying to convince people to buy a $12,000 or $20,000 piece of equipment that they don't need, and I know they don't need it. It
oh
felt so
wow.
dishonest.
Wow.
Um, yeah, but
So it's
yeah.
interesting. You mentioned purpose and all that, and I just asked you what your dream job is, and maybe have you found or have you figured out what your dream job would be?
I'm worried that I'm a bit maybe cursed to never know.
Uh,
Um, or at least in 37 years, with all the different jobs I've had, I still haven't found it. So, like, what are the odds?
yeah,
One thing, I don't know if it can qualify as the dream job, but I think a job that I would love is working back in like documentary filmmaking.
yeah,
I loved, I love human interest stories. I
uh-huh,
love the on-set work. I worked as a grip. Oh, that's another thing. I worked as a grip and key grip and a few other positions on film sets. Not anything in Hollywood, like student productions and some independent freelance work.
yeah.
That was so much fun. Dolly grip, making sure like working the dolly, making sure the camera's smoothly transitioning into the shot. Like it's a lot of fun.
Mm,
I would love to do that kind of thing again. Even if I'm not the editor, if
uh-huh,
I get to do something with documentary work, put out a good
yeah.
message, I'd
Okay,
love that.
okay. Does podcasting fall into that at all, or is it more like how does can you do like I feel like I do with podcasting I do like documentary work almost in some way because
Mhm.
I'm talking to people and I'm getting to know aspects about their life and like I don't know or is it more like you want to film them in the moment of like completing that triathlon or whatever else?
Yeah, so they're pretty related in a way. You can think about it as them like both being documentary, because
Yeah, yeah,
that's true and valid. I kind of like the more like narrative, story driven stuff that's like
yeah,
planned out. You're trying to tell a story, and so you're capturing all the moments to help piece that together. And I like that kind of craft specifically.
yeah.
And
Cool.
the podcasting is a lot of fun. Um, but it's not quite the same. It doesn't scratch the exact same itch.
Sure, sure. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Um, okay. Well, that's a lot of jobs that you had. And so I guess one of my other questions that I always like to ask is, uh, if someone were lacking purpose, do you have any advice on what maybe has or hasn't worked on finding it?
That's tough because I'm still in the middle of it. But
I know. Yeah.
there's a few things that I know I could probably engage in that would help. Like um, my mom told me about like a career strengths kind of advisor person that could kind of look at all like who I am collectively and like my strengths, weaknesses, kind of figure out, if video editing isn't necessarily going to be what I can do right now, what would I really enjoy and excel at?
Mm,
Um, I think part of the lack of feeling the purpose or the drive or the direction is not knowing, is not being able to really read into the future or see like a month down the road, basically.
mm,
Like I don't know how my strengths would plug into all these other things. And I can't really figure that out myself. So it's like learning an instrument. You need an advisor or you need somebody that knows that sort of
mhm.
stuff to really get you through it. Otherwise, you can muddle through it, but what ultimately you're doing is you're practicing bad habits and you're
Yeah.
practicing um inefficiencies. And then
Mhm.
those get ingrained in you and that's how you know how to play a bad way, right?
Yeah.
So I need to I need to get in touch with like mentors and advisors on the direction as far as the career goes.
Yeah.
Um yeah, that's one aspect of it. I think just one other minor part of it, not too minor, but probably secondary, is being mindful and
Mm,
introspective about like, or at least really fully realizing and accepting kind of where you are,
mhm.
acknowledging you're lost, you don't have the direction. Think about think about how to get out of it. Like
Yeah.
a lot of it starts as acknowledging the problem, and I think a lot of people don't acknowledge the problem; they shove it under the rug.
Yeah. That's interesting. One of the things that has helped me the most, helped me a lot. I wouldn't say the most, but another Jordan Petersonism. He says, ask yourself this. Ask yourself this: what remarkably stupid thing are you doing every single day? And that's interesting because I've applied that to like doom scrolling on Instagram or something
Oh,
like that. Like just
that's killer.
that's such a stupid time waster. And it's like, okay, well, then I identify it, right? And I'm like, okay, I want to do this less. And the cool thing is I fill it with something else. And then I can ask myself the same question, is this stupid as well? And then if it's like, well, yeah, this is stupid too. What else could you be doing? Then it really like it's an actionable, like in the moment thing that I've done that has really helped me like kind of figure out almost my hierarchy of priorities, and that's been very, very beneficial. So
It sounds like a win-win strategy, step by step, just incremental improvements,
yeah,
cutting out the bottom 10% of your time wasters and always building in better ones. That's smart.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, so I think we are. Do you have? Whoa, you got your phone ringing? No, I'm just kidding.
What?
uh,
I didn't hear anything. What are you talking about?
yeah. So, do you have the time on your screen, or is it just on mine?
Yeah, it's 1:53.
Oh, it says 202 for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
I don't
interesting.
want. Okay, yeah, that is weird. That's
Do you
concerning.
ask your other guests this to kind of see if it matches?
No. I just like to see if guests like because when I'm live with the guests, they can't see the timer or they don't know where it is on my computer, right? And so I just like to ask how long they think that we've been going for, and
Yeah, I got the
I
timer. I'm reading the timer.
I don't know about you, but 2 hours just breezed by.
It did. It
It
did.
was a lot of fun. Let me ask you
Yeah.
some closing questions. What's one thing
Okay.
you hope people take away from this conversation?
Well, any kind of life strategy advice, relationship advice, if I don't know, like me coming into this, it's more. I'm not trying to teach people about me. I'm hoping that who I am can kind of people can learn a thing or two from it and apply it to themselves and maybe be better at something,
I
or
love
think
that.
about things differently. And so
Yeah,
ideally, if any of that takes place, like, I don't care if people learn who am I, but if they learn something through watching me, that's great.
yeah,
Um, but I think of the things I've talked about, closest to my heart is probably just like the awareness of the disability and maybe, you know, everybody's got it tough growing up, but like if you've got an obvious disability, you're getting it way worse. Like just encourage people to be kinder, like a bit more patient, or at least
hmm
think about like, you know, as annoying as annoyed as I am at this person with a disability who's annoying me, like they've got to be having it way worse than I am.
yeah,
A little bit of empathy.
yeah,
Um, I think that would be just baseline improve the world a little bit.
yeah. Did you told me a story about your mom overhearing our conversation before the podcast? I don't think you talked about it on the podcast, did you?
No, no, it's funny that we didn't get there. Do we want to do it here? Or do we want to do it in part two?
Um, we can we can earmark it, or it's up to you. I'm gonna leave that decision up to you. I'm good with whatever.
Okay, just say it now. We got plenty for part two anyway. So, all right.
Okay.
Uh, it's funny. So, my mom told me a story about something that she remembered from our childhood when we were playing together.
By
At
the
her
way,
house up.
before
Yeah,
you set the scene, you're 37, right?
yeah,
And I'm 41. So I'm 4 years older than you, and like as an adult, that doesn't make as much of a difference, but as a kid, there was a
big. Yeah.
pretty big difference there. So anyway, keep going.
Well, 4 years. Yeah, but you
It
were a
was like
senior when
3
I was a
years, wasn't it?
freshman.
Yeah.
Yeah, we shared 1 year in high school, 3 or 4
Yeah.
years, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a big difference between us. I mean, you were a saint for putting up with me, man. I was probably just an annoying kid for a little while for you. Um, but yeah, so we were, I think we were playing video games, up in the playroom, second floor of my parents' house. And my mom was, hovering or just like she was nearby for some whatever reason. She overheard you say something to me. You're like, and I think she was in like eye shot, line of vision. So she saw you turn to me and just randomly like blurt out, like, I'm so glad I'm me and I'm not you. Which, on the surface, you know, that sounds pretty horrible, right? Like, why? But
Yeah.
you followed that up because I looked at you, I was like,
What the
bleep,
heck, man?
are you serious? But you
Yeah.
followed it up with a really insightful remark, which, you know, it was crazy that you said this. You said it because I like something along the lines of I would rather have spina bifida than what you have because with my disability people could see it. Like it's obvious, people get it, like it's understandable. But with you, nobody knows what the hell's going on, right? And it's worse that way. And I think that's true. I think it's a lot easier to deal with and treat people by how like what you know. and dude in wheelchair, dude on crutches, you know, that's really understandable. And there's not a whole lot of stuff you can really lean into them with that about, like, to make fun of them. I'm sure there is. I'm sure you had it, but when some kid is tweaking out in the corner and all over the place mentally, can't learn crap in a classroom setting, and is elbowing people at the lunch line, and hitting himself in the face with his knee, and chirping, and what is that? It's
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that the invisible disability is a lot harder to manage, a lot harder to deal with, control, learn of yourself. And for others, it's a lot harder to know how to treat you than the
Mhm.
disability that's rather visible.
Yeah, because
Um,
it's interesting because I think one of the things is, like, when you're just going through life, you think a person walking towards you is quote unquote normal, right? And then they blurt out they chirp, like, as you're walking by them, and then you're like, wait, like, it just kind of like throws you off a little bit, if you will, like, you're just not expecting it because there's an able-bodied person that's walking by, and you think it's just like a normal every other able-bodied person, if you will, right? So in a wheelchair, you can see that person coming, and it's not like, boom, that guy's suddenly in the wheelchair next to you, right? So
mhm.
it's not as it's not as a shock, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just found it really interesting that you had that insight so
Yeah,
young. Like, cause that's
yeah,
kind of like a mature understanding of, like, the realities of dealing with disability and how you're
yeah,
seen.
yeah.
So it's just an interesting little story mom threw my way. And yeah.
You, I wonder if that's why ADHD affected me more than spina bifida. I mean, if that's another aspect of it, like, it, it it's it's hard to blur. Again, we were talking about the blurred lines between, like, ADHD and, like, your actions and accountability and all that. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That's a an interesting insight. I'm glad your mom didn't come up and just start yelling at me as soon as I said, "I'm glad I'm not you," or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It piqued her interest for sure, but she didn't, like, run up and slap you.
Right, right. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, well, where can people find you as far as socials if you want them to?
I'm kind of off social from a philosophical standpoint. Try to stay away from it. Brain rot, you know. But
Yeah.
uh, I am a video editor, and I operate under DMB video, or DMB film editing. Um, I don't know. Yeah, like, comment, and subscribe if you want to hire somebody. I can do some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
But
I don't think liking is gonna help them hire you, but,
hey, the more you say it, maybe
yeah.
they'll do it. You never know.
Yeah, yeah. You can reach out to me, and I can connect you to David, or you can you just put out your email. Was that what that was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um
No, no, yeah, it's, that was the freelance business name. My email is DM,
oh,
well, actually, I won't say it, but I'll give it to you, and you can
okay,
read it
it's
out
it's
if
up to you.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's up to you if you wanna publicly have
yeah,
people
probably
reaching
not.
out to you.
That'll be my new spam email if I do.
You're gonna have millions of people after this episode airs
Oh,
reaching
yeah,
out to you.
definitely.
Uh, yeah. Well, David, I really appreciate the conversation. It's been it's been a lot of fun. I know we've
Mhm.
talked about this here and there. Next time there's a lot of topics that I left off the table, and so we'll get into that next time. If you guys have any questions that you want me to ask David, let me know. Put it in the comments. But is there anything else that you have that you want to mention before I do my sign off?
Um, yeah, one minor thing, you kept bringing up, JP, good old JP. He was,
Yeah.
He was I looked up to him for a long time too. Listen to him less now, but he's got a lot of great insights. And my favorite thing is, like the clean your room meme. Like it
Yeah.
really does kind of speak to a great life practice. Like if you're struggling, if you can't find yourself doing something that you need to be doing, just make your bed, just
Yeah.
clean your room.
Yep.
And it'll all fall into place after that.
Yeah. I love that.
So
Okay. Anything else?
that's it.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining the Rolling Forward podcast. If you like what you heard, please hit that like button, subscribe to get more videos, and again, leave a comment for anything that you liked or you heard or that something that impacted you with David's story here today. Again, if you have any questions that you want me to ask David next time, please let me know those. And then if you want to get a Rolling Forward branded shirt, you can get this on rollingforward.printful.me, along with a whole bunch of other disability related funny shirts. Until next time, keep rolling forward. Thanks, everyone.